GMNA uses artificial intelligence for generated speech, visuals, and production. AI-generated content may contain errors. Please verify important information before making decisions or taking action.
Good morning, Montreal. Our top story tonight is a traffic controller critically injured after a plane collision at the airport, and a yellow thunderstorm warning now covering the area. We'll also look at the new 901 Taschereau bus line launching on the South Shore. Over to you, Ryan.
The PWHL Championship trophy went missing late last week, but has now been recovered and returned to Montreal Victoire.
Officials confirmed the trophy was located on the arena floor early this morning, confirming its safe return to the victorious team.
Police reported the missing trophy resulted from a misplaced crate during equipment transport after the championship ceremony.
All right, let's get into it, starting with today's top headlines and what you need to know before heading out. Here are our top stories. A Montreal traffic controller was struck by an aircraft, sustaining critical injuries. Police confirmed the incident and are forwarding it to the Provincial Workplace Safety Commission for investigation. Denis Lariviere has the full story.
An air traffic controller on the ground was struck by an aircraft today, leaving him in critical condition. Police officials confirmed the collision occurred at a Montreal control tower site, and emergency crews rushed the worker to hospital. The Montreal Police Service said the incident will be classified as a workplace accident and forwarded to the Provincial Commission on Standards, Equity, Health and Safety at Work for investigation. Authorities have not released details about the plane involved, but they emphasize that safety protocols are being reviewed. The controller remains under intensive care as investigators piece together how the aircraft entered the control area. No other injuries have been reported. Denis Lariviere, GMNA News, Montreal.
Residents of the West Island are locked in a heated dispute over the fate of an 18th-century farmhouse that has stood on the outskirts of the community for centuries. The historic structure, now crumbling, has drawn preservationists who argue it is a tangible link to the region's agrarian roots. The mayor of the West Island, however, warns that the deteriorating walls pose an imminent safety threat and urges demolition or at least removal of the most unstable sections. Town meetings held this week have seen passionate pleas on both sides, with some neighbors fearing loss of heritage while others stress public liability. City officials have ordered a structural assessment to determine whether the building can be stabilized without endangering nearby homes. The outcome will shape how the borough balances historic conservation with modern safety standards.
La Salle College announced it has entered creditor protection after a $30 million penalty forced the institution to suspend all classes. The college said the provincial government withheld its operating grant because the fine remained unpaid, leaving the school without cash flow. Administrators filed for protection on Tuesday, citing the need to preserve assets while negotiations continue over the outstanding penalty. Students were told classes would not resume until the province releases the blocked funding, a process that could extend weeks. The move marks the first time a post-secondary institution in the province has sought such protection, raising concerns about the impact on enrollments and staff contracts. The college's legal team warned that without the grant, the campus could face further layoffs and risk losing its accreditation if the dispute remains unresolved. Officials from the Education Ministry declined to comment on a timeline for releasing the funds.
Quebec faces a surge in first-time homelessness among seniors, with many aged 65, 70 or 75 losing stable housing for the first time, prompting urgent calls for action. Denis Lariviere has the full story.
Across Quebec, officials say a growing wave of seniors is finding themselves without a roof for the first time. The Provincial Commissioner of Health and Well-being told reporters that people as young as 65, as well as those in their 70s, are now joining the homeless ranks. Social services are reporting a noticeable rise in first-time homelessness among those aged 70 and older, a shift that was rare just months ago. Local shelters are seeing longer wait lists, and outreach teams are stretching resources to locate safe sleeping spots. The surge is being described by authorities as a humanitarian crisis, prompting calls for immediate intervention. Denis Lariviere, GMNA News, Montreal.
Yesterday, Quebec's Meteorological Service issued a yellow alert for violent thunderstorms across the island. The warning, the first level of severe weather notification, signals that strong gusts, intense rain and possible hail are expected to develop this afternoon and evening. Residents were advised to secure loose objects, avoid non-essential travel, and stay alert for updated forecasts. Emergency crews are on standby, and schools in the affected boroughs have been asked to monitor conditions before dismissals. The alert follows a pattern of heightened summer convective activity that has been noted across the province this season. Officials emphasized that while the yellow tier does not indicate immediate danger, the storm's intensity could quickly elevate to higher warnings if conditions worsen. Listeners should follow local radio and the service's website for any changes. The new 901 Taschereau bus line rolls out on the South Shore, easing commutes for many. Stay tuned. We will be right back.
Every day, important stories happen across the city before any news crew arrives. Sometimes the very first person at the story is you. When you witness something newsworthy, open the GMNA Citizen Reporter app and start your report. The app guides you through every step while your report is delivered directly to the GMNA newsroom. Every submission is reviewed by our editorial team, and approved reports may be featured on GMNA. Get the GMNA Citizen Reporter app today at my.gmna.ca. Your city, your news. Every day, important stories happen across the city before any news crew arrives. Sometimes the very first person at the story is you. When you witness something newsworthy, open the GMNA Citizen Reporter app and start your report. The app guides you through every step while your report is delivered directly to the GMNA newsroom. Every submission is reviewed by our editorial team, and approved reports may be featured on GMNA. Get the GMNA Citizen Reporter app today at my.gmna.ca. Your city, your news.
Welcome back. The new 901 Taschereau bus line began service yesterday, linking the South Shore's previously fragmented transit zones. The route, operated by the Regional Transit Authority, runs from the western edge of St. Lambert through Brossard to the heart of Longueuil, stitching together corridors that once required separate municipal passes. Officials said the line will simplify commutes for thousands of riders who previously navigated a patchwork of local services. Early riders reported smoother connections to the REM and the upcoming commuter rail extensions. The launch coincided with a coordinated fare integration effort among the participating municipalities, aiming to present a single, seamless ticketing system. Transportation planners expect the 901 line to boost ridership and reduce car trips across the island's southern suburbs, supporting the region's broader climate goals overall.
Mayor Valerie Plante warns that newly imposed U.S. tariffs on Canadian goods are having an extremely worrying impact on Montreal's economy, citing reduced trade and rising costs for local businesses. Denise Lariviere has the full story.
Mayor Valerie Plante warned today that the new United States customs duties on Canadian goods are already tightening the city's economic pulse. Standing outside City Hall, she said the tariffs are forcing manufacturers to reassess supply chains and pushing up costs for retailers that rely on cross-border shipments. She cited a recent drop in orders for aerospace components and a slowdown in construction material imports, noting that small businesses on St. Laurent are feeling the pressure to raise prices. The mayor called the situation extremely worrying and urged federal partners to seek relief, while the United States continues to enforce the latest tariff regime. Local chambers reported that export-dependent firms are reviewing staffing levels as the cost gap widens. Denise Lariviere, GMNA News, Montreal.
Yesterday, roughly 20 mayors from municipalities in the Laurentides and Lanaudière regions north of the island issued a joint appeal to the provincial government for a boost in public transit funding and a rebalancing of service levels. They said rapid population growth in their jurisdictions has outpaced current transit capacity, and that additional resources are essential to meet rising demand. The request arrives as the provincial election campaign is launching, putting transportation policy front and center in the political debate. Officials highlighted recent demographic data showing strong increases in residents across both regions, underscoring the urgency of adapting the network. The mayors pledged to continue lobbying provincial leaders until a funding solution is secured, emphasizing that equitable investment is needed to support the expanding northern communities. They also called for a review of bus frequencies and for additional commuter rail connections to better serve the growing ridership.
Yesterday evening, former La Presse columnist Vincent Marisol announced he is abandoning the Rosemont electoral district to seek the Parti Québécois nomination in the Taschereau riding. Marisol, who has been sitting as an independent since leaving the legislature, said the shift reflects his desire to focus on the issues he highlighted in his journalism career. The Taschereau constituency, located in the heart of Quebec City, will now see a high-profile candidate enter the race ahead of the provincial elections slated for later this year. Party officials confirmed his candidacy and noted that his move could reshape the dynamics in both districts, with Rosemont opening to new contenders, while Taschereau gains a well-known public figure. Marisol's decision was made public through a brief statement released to the media on Monday for the upcoming campaign.
The federal government has pledged $11.3 billion to build 6 icebreakers in Quebec, a promise first made in 2019 to strengthen shipbuilding sector and expand Coast Guard fleet. Marion Catay has the full story.
Federal officials unveiled a funding package of $11.3 billion to finance the construction of 6 new icebreakers in Quebec. Prime Minister Mark Carney said the money will flow directly to the province's shipbuilding yards, a move that fulfills a pledge first made in 2019. The program is designed to revitalize the local shipbuilding sector, creating jobs and securing contracts for Quebec firms, while simultaneously expanding the Canadian Coast Guard's capability to navigate icy waters. The icebreakers are slated for delivery over the next several years, strengthening maritime safety and supporting northern operations. The announcement comes as part of a broader effort to modernize Canada's coastal infrastructure. Marion Catay, GMNA News, Quebec.
Now let's turn to your morning forecast and see what the day holds ahead.
A weak pressure rise under a westerly jet stalls the damp air, keeping Montreal overcast and dry. The all-time high for August 24 sits at 32.9 degrees, recorded in 2021 during an unprecedented heat wave that pushed the city into the mid-30s for several days. The record low is 11 degrees, set in 2017 when a sudden Arctic dip plunged the region into a bitter cold snap despite summer. By contrast, the climatological average high hovers around 23 degrees and the average low near 15, leaving today's 22-degree high comfortably below the historic extreme. The live radar shows a completely blank canvas across southern Quebec, no echoes of rain or snow in sight. With the westerly jet aloft moving at about 58 kilometers per hour, the atmosphere remains stratified and dry, preventing any lift. The stable air mass will glide over Montreal unchanged, so the overcast stays and no precipitation will arrive before the evening clears. With the map quiet, we now shift to today's outlook. At 7 a.m. Montreal wakes under a thick overcast with temperature 17 degrees and humidity 95%. A light southerly breeze at 3 kilometers per hour keeps the air feeling damp, while pressure is near average and beginning to rise, signaling drier air pushing in from the west. The westerly jet at 560 kilometers altitude streams at 58 kilometers per hour, steering any remaining moisture eastward and suppressing convection. Temperatures will climb steadily, reaching a high of 22 degrees by mid-afternoon, then ease to 18 as the sun sets around 7:47 p.m., the UV index sits at 4, and wind will peak at 19 kilometers per hour from the southwest, well below gusty thresholds. No weather alerts are active, and precipitation remains absent throughout the day. Looking ahead, Tuesday opens with clear skies and a high of 20 degrees, low 15, a comfortable start after today's cloud cover. Wednesday stays bright, nudging the high to 23 degrees while the low dips to 14, driven by the same high-pressure ridge that is sliding eastward. Thursday brings the first disturbance of the period. A weak frontal wave pushes a band of light rain across the region, delivering a 60% chance of precipitation and raising the high to 25 degrees, low 18 as the rain cools the surface. Friday returns to dry conditions, high 23, low 16, as the jet stream re-establishes its westerly flow. Saturday mirrors Friday with partly cloudy skies, high 23 and low 16, offering a stable finish to the week. And that's your weather. Remember, the local sunrise is also available as a podcast. Listen anytime on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts.
Traffic updates, tonight's MUTEK lineup, and the Canadians heading into a tough Atlantic Division group of death. More after the break. We will be right back.
Every day, important stories happen across the city before any news crew arrives. Sometimes the very first person at the story is you. When you witness something newsworthy, open the GMNA Citizen Reporter app and start your report. The app guides you through every step while your report is delivered directly to the GMNA newsroom. Every submission is reviewed by our editorial team, and approved reports may be featured on GMNA. Get the GMNA Citizen Reporter app today at my.gmna.ca. Your city, your news.
An accident at Trudeau Airport is the biggest holdup this morning. 6 lanes on the approach road to the airport, the Autoroute 20, are backed up as crews clear a multi-vehicle collision. Expect delays of 10 to 15 minutes heading east toward the city and a slow-moving queue on the access road to the terminal. On the Mercier Bridge, crews are working on a lane reduction. Only 2 of the 3 lanes remain open on Route 20, so traffic is inching along, especially during the rush hour peak. Drivers heading west should also plan for the Isle-aux-Tourtes Bridge closure. The 40 is down, diverting traffic onto the Champlain Bridge and the Descaries Expressway. The Turcotte interchange remains closed for ongoing work, forcing drivers onto the nearby Autoroute Quinze and the Ville-Marie Expressway. Transit is running on schedule with no reported issues. Expect these conditions to ease by mid-afternoon, but keep an eye on updates if you're on the affected routes.
MUTEK kicks off today at the Cartier des Spectacles, bringing over 80 cutting-edge electronic music and digital art performances to the heart of the city. It's the perfect chance to discover tomorrow's sound while the summer night buzzes with light. If you're still looking for a vibe, Picnic Electronic continues at Parc Jean-Drapeau, where food trucks and dancing keep the downtown beat alive. Grab a blanket, sip a drink, and let the beats carry you through the evening. For a quieter afternoon, the World Press Photo Exhibition opens at Marché Bonsecours, showcasing 150 prize-winning photographs that capture the world's most compelling stories. It's a visual passport that reminds us of the power of a single image. And looking ahead, the Festival des Arts de Rouen spreads across the city's alleys from August 29, turning everyday streets into spontaneous stages for eclectic performances. And now here's Tyler with sports.
Montreal sports making noise on the ice and off it. The Walter Cup is home. The PWHL Championship trophy went missing late last week, setting off what had to be a frantic search, but it has been recovered and returned to the Montreal Victoire. Champions earn that hardware. Losing it, even briefly, is not a great look. All good now. The Atlantic Division is shaping up to be a gauntlet heading into 2026-27, with analysts calling it a group of death surrounding the Canadians. Meanwhile, NHL Network slotted Nick Suzuki 9th among centers league-wide, a ranking that is drawing raised eyebrows from those who believe Montreal's captain belongs higher on that list. Owen Beck checks in at number 15 in the Canadiens' top 25 under 25 rankings. 4 years after Montreal drafted him as a center, Beck has 27 NHL games under his belt and his first Canadiens goal to his name. He has passed the prospect label. Now it is about sticking in the rotation. Big questions ahead for Montreal. We will be watching every answer.
Thanks, Tyler. Lulu's Pasta Bar on St. Catherine Street in downtown Montreal is opening its doors this week, bringing a family-run Italian kitchen to the heart of the city. Chef Marco and his sister Sofia serve house-made tagliatelle, fresh ravioli, and seasonal sauces from a modern, open kitchen space that invites diners to watch the craft. The restaurant will create dozens of jobs and adds another vibrant spot to the bustling downtown food scene. The menu highlights ingredients sourced from Quebec farms, supporting local growers and keeping flavors rooted in our province. For longtime residents, Lulu's feels like a hometown gathering place, a reminder that great pasta can still be a community experience. It's a fresh flavor for our neighborhood and a promise of growth for Montreal's culinary landscape. Up next, we hear how officials plan to answer U.S. tariffs and the new AI code shaping Quebec elections. Stay tuned.
Every day, important stories happen across the city before any news crew arrives. Sometimes the very first person at the story is you. When you witness something newsworthy, open the GMNA Citizen Reporter app and start your report. The app guides you through every step while your report is delivered directly to the GMNA newsroom. Every submission is reviewed by our editorial team, and approved reports may be featured on GMNA. Get the GMNA Citizen Reporter app today at my.gmna.ca. Your city, your news.
Welcome back. Canada vows to match new U.S. tariffs dollar for dollar, with officials warning of possible cuts to electricity and critical minerals exports, while Quebec says it will not be intimidated. Jesse Cartier has the full story.
Canadian officials are pushing back after Washington raised tariffs on a range of Canadian products. Finance Minister Mark Carney told reporters Ottawa will match the new duties dollar for dollar and is reviewing cuts to electricity exports and critical mineral shipments destined for the United States. In Quebec, Minister Christine Fréchette said the province will not be swayed by the pressure, rejecting any notion of intimidation. President Donald Trump reiterated the United States' stance, saying the measures are intended to protect American workers. Both sides acknowledge the escalation could affect supply chains across the border while diplomatic channels remain open for further discussion. Talks are expected to continue in the coming weeks. Jesse Cartier, GMNA News, Quebec.
4 major Quebec parties, including the Liberals, CAQ, Parti Québécois and Québec Solidaire, have pledged to adopt a new artificial intelligence code of conduct for upcoming elections, addressing growing concerns over electoral integrity. Denise Larivière has the full story.
At a press conference today, the Quebec Liberal Party, Coalition Avenir Québec, Parti Québécois and Québec Solidaire each announced they will adhere to a newly released code of conduct that governs how artificial intelligence may be used during election campaigns. The agreement was signed in the presence of Catherine Reges, director of the Institute for Data Analytics and Open Innovation, and representatives from IVADO, the institute that supports advanced data research. Officials said the code sets clear limits on AI-generated content, mandates disclosure of algorithmic tools, and requires parties to audit any automated messaging before it goes public. The move comes as provincial leaders voice rising worries that unchecked AI could erode the integrity of Quebec's elections. Denise Larivière, GMNA News, Montreal.
Thank you, Montreal, for joining us this morning. Today's coverage of the traffic controller's critical injury after the plane collision reminded us how vital safety is for our city. We'll be back tomorrow with more local news and stories that matter to you. Have a wonderful day.